Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us for the Morning Five. For a few minutes, we're going to jump into the Word of God together and maybe give you something to think about, challenge you, make your walk with Christ a little better. We're going to be reading in Luke chapter 23. And Noah's going to do that now. Noah?
All right, we're going to start in Luke chapter 23, and we're going to be starting in verse 26. And when they led him away, they took hold of a man, Simon of Cyrene, coming in from the country, and placed on him the cross to carry behind Jesus. And following him was a large multitude of the people, and of women who were mourning and lamenting him. But Jesus, turning to them, said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, stop crying out for me, but cry for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, Blessed are the barren and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed. Then they will begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, Cover us. For if they do these things when the tree is green, what will happen when it is dry?" Now 2 others also who were criminals were being led away to be put to death with him.
We're slowly moving into the crucifixion of Christ, and slowly is an appropriate thing. This is something we need to take in and drink in and contemplate. What you find in these verses, I think there are 2 ideas that jump out to me. Noah, one is how Simon is pressed to help Jesus. And there may be a lot more to this than I'm getting, but I would say that one practical thing we can take from this is God sometimes places people into our lives who can help us when that time arises. And that's one of the blessings of Christianity, that God puts people where they need to be to help us. And if that's true, then we need to let other people help us and let that be a blessing, because we don't know what happened to him. There are some ideas that later he became a Christian, and let's just say that's true for a moment. Maybe seeing Jesus at that moment was something that changed Simon of Cyrene's life. In fact, I think we could say, obviously, it must have changed his life one way or another. If we allow other people to help us, that can be a blessing to them. So that's one thing. But the second thing is Jesus' sympathy towards the women who are mourning for him. Their sympathy was toward him, but Jesus knows what's coming now. Jerusalem is going to fall. You look at Matthew chapter 24, and it's going to be horrible. And that's what Jesus is thinking about at this moment. He's not thinking about what's about to happen to him. He's thinking about what's about to happen to them. And the statement in verse 31, I think, is telling, depending upon how you understand it. Jesus said, if they do these things when the wood is green, what will happen when it's dry? Is Jesus saying, if you're doing this to me, if you're mourning for me when I'm going to be punished, what's going to happen to you is going to be far worse. But I think there may be, just extend that a little farther to the judgment. Even with Jerusalem falling is nothing compared to what's going to happen to the judgment. So everything about what Jesus did is encapsulated in these few verses. Jesus came to die because Jesus knows that what we will go through without him doing what he does is far worse. And his love drives him to the cross because his desire is for humanity to avoid the punishment that comes when they sin.
That's profound. Yeah. I mean, I can't get away from the end of verse 26. The way it's worded, coming in from the country, they placed on him the cross to carry behind Jesus, which it screams at me that that's my role as well, to bear my cross, to
behind
follow Jesus, absolutely. And like you said, I think it's connected right into verse, he's carrying this behind Jesus, right into verse 27, this large multitude is following him, including all of these women who are mourning. And so I think, I don't know exactly what all to draw from this text, but what I feel confident in is I have a responsibility to follow Jesus. And if I do that, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so the things of this
And it will involve a cross.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it will involve all of this stuff that these people are crying out. I mean, life is not easy for anybody. it certainly won't be easy for Christians. We will be persecuted. That's the promise of the Bible. If we're acting the way that we should, the world will hate us. That's John 3. There's still an expectation of us to follow Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. And, for believers, when Jerusalem fell, God was going to deliver them ultimately.
Yes.
Hardships will come our way in life, and maybe sometimes we're going to be punished when a large group of people are punished. Jerusalem fell, individual Christians suffered unless they were smart enough to recognize what was happening, which is the reason why he told them they got out of town. But when God makes these judgments, sometimes they're large judgments and individuals will suffer. But Christ died so that we can have salvation. Yeah. And so maybe that's the takeaway. Bear your cross. Follow after Jesus Christ. Live in such a way that you can avoid the big punishment because God doesn't want you to go through that. Christ died so you and I can be saved. So maybe that'll be helpful to people.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. We hope that these things have been helpful to you this morning. We'd love to talk with you about this. If we're able to come to church and have a discussion with us, we'd love that. If not, leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about this text and how we can help talk through this text better.